Welcome to Dodgers Dogs. As part of the Dodgers Daily Network, Casey Porter here, joined by Austin Brubaker. As we watch here, I think the West Michigan Whitecaps just tied the game up at 3-3 in the top of the eighth inning. So the Loons are now hitting with 2 outs in the bottom of the eighth. I think that's Nico Perez hitting right there for the Loons. I got them on the left. On the right, I've got the Oklahoma City Comets facing the Albuquerque Isotopes. That just got started. So Austin, it could be better because the Dodgers could be beating the Giants, but it's a great day to be a Dodger.
Yep, that is the thing that Casey always says. It's a great day to be a Dodger because we are truly blessed to be Dodgers fans. Right now, though, the Dodgers are scuffling. There's no doubt about that. We're going to be talking a little bit about that. Thanks for bringing up the Loons, having the score be tied on them. I had to watch that over the past couple of minutes while interacting with you, so that was not very fun. But I'm excited to be here, Dodgers Dogs, part of the Dodgers Daily Network, to talk about all things Dodgers because there's still a lot to talk about that we're going to go ahead and dive into.
Okay. I'm weird. Of course, I went on and on yesterday about how frustrated I was with this and that, the offense and that. It's been going all the way back to June. I'm not going to lie, though. Shohei Ohtani got 2 hits last night. One of them was to the opposite field gap. I don't know how. Well, I covered it yesterday, right? And every time I make that post or I make that comment, people are like, oh, you're just trying to tell the best player in the world how to hit. I'm like, no, I'm just trying to tell you what happens to every hitter whenever they pull off the ball, and usually what happens whenever they stop pulling off the ball. So I loved seeing that home run to the opposite field for Shohei Ohtani. Will Smith hit a ball hard. I think he hit one 109 miles an hour. Freddie Freeman hit one, I think, 108 miles an hour. Kyle Tucker continues to get on base. So weird that the Dodgers only had 3 runners in scoring position yesterday. But and the offense just wasn't good. But I came out of that kind of like the statistician that you are, Austin, thinking, man, there were some underlying things behind the curtain that kind of looks like, to me, this might be the beginning of the Dodgers figuring things out. Because the bottom of the lineup is going to be, for everybody. It's going to be is what it is. But it just kind of seemed like me that the top of the lineup looked like they might have shown some sparks there. Am I overrating this at all?
No, I obviously with the game that they had yesterday and with the series that they've had, this is a Giants team that the Dodgers should handle. This is a Giants team that the Dodgers should go out and win. When you lose the first 2 games of that series, it sucks, especially when it is the most hated rival, the San Francisco Giants. But what you're alluding to is some of the signs that we are looking for to see this offense get out of the slump that it has. Because the reason why the Dodgers, and this is something I'm going to keep re-emphasizing over and over again, the reason why the Dodgers have been slumping is because their star players have not been playing anywhere close to their star level player type of talent. Shohei Ohtani, look at his WRC plus compared to his previous 3 seasons. It's down 55 points. From 177 to 122. Kyle Tucker's down 28. Freddie Freeman's down 24. Teoscar Hernandez down 18. Will Smith down 23. So then you have to ask yourself, okay, what are some of the reasons why these players are underperforming as much as they have been underperforming? And for Shohei Ohtani, one of the reasons why he's been underperforming as much as he had, one, he's hitting the ball on the ground a lot more. Previous season was about 40-ish%. This year, it's a little over 46%. That is a pretty big jump, and he's pulling the ball pretty consistently, about 54% on his pull percentage on the season. Typically, he's hitting the ball plus about 55 to 60-ish% straight into the straight percentage or opposite field type of percentage. That's where Shohei Ohtani has lived and thrived as an offensive player, offensive contributor. He just has not been doing that. But what you had mentioned is a particular sign, not just the home run that he had, but where that home run was. Because he wasn't just I'm going to try to swing out of it and it just pulling the ball on the ground balls, which has been happening a lot. It is, I'm going to let the ball travel. I'm going to trust my skills. I'm going to be able to hit it deep, opposite field type of way. That was a really good sign for Shohei Ohtani, who has been struggling and who this offense needs. But they're not going to see him tonight and not going to see him for tomorrow night as well. Going to be getting some time off to hopefully reset himself as an offensive player. And we'll see if that has a little bit of good impact on him. And then similarly for Will Smith, he has not been the same Will Smith to start the season as he has been in years past. Just a 101 WRC plus on the season. You're looking for some good signs to hopefully get Will Smith going, because the Dodgers as an offensive staff need Will Smith to hit, because you look at the right-handed bats on this team. Mookie Betts, still a little bit of question mark of what you're going to get for him just coming off of the injury. Teoscar Hernandez has been inconsistent. Andy Pages goes through really hot stretches and then some really cold stretches. Will Smith is supposed to be that consistent right-handed bat, and the Dodgers need him, and he hasn't been that to this point. Hopefully this can be the start of him being able to turn it around.
So it would be fair to say that the bridge, so take a pitcher and they have a 98-mile-an-hour fastball. Then they have an 80-mile-an-hour curveball. And it's like, wow, that's such a big difference that a hitter has time to load and reload. And so it's not quite effective enough. So what you need is that bridge, which is the slider that's exactly halfway in between your curveball and your fastball. So now you have three different velo bands. You have the high velo band, and your velo band has a high level to it, a low level to it, and then a bridge in the middle of it. So would it be fair to say that in some ways the effectiveness of this offense runs through Will Smith and Kyle Tucker, because you're supposed to have the top end level of production from Shohei Ohtani, Freddie Freeman, then you're supposed to have the floor level production from guys like Ha-Seong Kim, whoever might be playing that night, Miguel Rojas or whoever. But Will Smith and Kyle Tucker are supposed to be the two bridges to that, one right-handed, one left-handed, to help you raise your floor. And I think that's where I'm getting a little bit more excited about yesterday's performance, like you're talking about, because Will Smith did hit the ball hard. Kyle Tucker has been getting on base. So you're starting to see that, at least that bridge starting to be made, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, that's actually a really fascinating kind of breakdown of how you would go ahead and evaluate that. And yeah, with Will Smith, getting him to be a little bit more of that consistent offensive piece is going to be really good. With Kyle Tucker, he's actually been turning on as of late. You look at his past 57 plate appearances, past 2-ish weeks or so, 155 WRC plus. He's starting to get a little bit more settled in. That can provide hopefully a little bit more consistency towards the top of the lineup, towards the top of the order. And then Will Smith. Both of those guys are more consistent, steady type of presence, not high strikeout type of guys. They have the impact. They have the ability to make some power, but you're looking for a little bit more of a consistent presence with them, as opposed to guys like a Max Muncy or Teoscar Hernandez, where you're looking for the impact. You're looking for the power. With Will Smith and with Kyle Tucker, you're looking for a little bit more consistency. And it looks like, at least with Kyle Tucker, he's been a little bit more consistent as of late. And then with Will Smith, hopefully there you see some of these signs where he can establish himself as being a little bit more of a consistent offensive threat to this lineup to really help balance everything out and just provide a little bit more of length to this lineup that just hasn't had a whole lot of late recently.
So we've said it many times, and I'm got a couple things typed in here, and I'll be done with that, and then I'll be done with that. So the Shohei Ohtani deal, obviously hitting the ball opposite field was a big deal. Freddie Freeman, I thought, was a big deal, hitting the ball pretty hard. Will Smith hit a ball pretty hard. Kyle Tucker is getting on base. So where do you stand with this offense? Of course, Dalton Rushing hasn't been going great lately. So where do you stand with the Dodgers not hitting Shohei Ohtani today after he finally showed signs of doing what he's supposed to? I went on 10 minutes yesterday talking out my ass about how it's the process of Shohei Ohtani. He looks lost. It's just the way he looks. And so then all of a sudden he looks better, and then he gets rewarded for that, gets 2 hits, an opposite field home run. Now he's not in the lineup. I know Dave said, hey, we can't be reactive, and I totally agree with Dave on that because Dalton Rushing does need at-bats. But are there times where you need to go, yeah, he needs at-bats, but still at times I need to push certain buttons, and this is one of them?
It is a fascinating storyline because this was something that was said by the organization, or at least made some sort of statement prior to the outing that Shohei Ohtani had in the batter's box yesterday. So the organization stated, "Hey, we're going to give Shohei Ohtani after this game, after the game on Tuesday, 2 days off. One in which he's on the mound, which he's going on the mound tonight for the Los Angeles Dodgers, and the day afterwards." They're sticking to their plans, they're sticking to their guns, they're sticking to the process. And the reason why is because there was a very good reason as to why that was the case. And as Dave Roberts said, you don't want to be completely reactionary in the type of moment for that, because there are still instances where Shohei Ohtani looks a little bit lost at the plate. And I think it's one of those things where the Dodgers did a little bit of a breakdown and analysis and said, hey, we can't have Shohei Ohtani at this point because he's continually going out there and just trying to swing out of it and pulling everything on the ground. Let's just give him a little bit of a break from that, and big picture wise, because of what's been happening, not just yesterday's game, but over the past couple of weeks or so, we think that this is the best idea for Shohei Ohtani going forward. And if they made that decision that that's the best idea for Shohei Ohtani, they came collectively at that decision, then that's what they're going to roll with, because they trust their process. They trust what they need to do. And even though you had a good game, even though the Dodgers need wins at this point, I think that was a collective decision that they thought was going to be in the best interest for Shohei Ohtani to have him succeed a little bit more long-term. I don't really have any sort of strong opinion either way, whether that is the correct decision or not. We'll see what happens during the game tonight. They are going to have to find different ways to get some of their other guys plate appearances. And Shohei Ohtani has looked lost a little bit recently. We'll have to see how it works out, though. It was good signs to see Shohei Ohtani get that. He's going to have a little bit of time to rest and reflect on that and say, hey, that was a little bit of a good outing that I have in the plate. Hopefully that helps build up his confidence going into his next time.
Yoshinobu Yamamoto, the Dodgers have given him 2.8 runs per game in the time where he's pitched. I mean, 2.8 runs. So the win-loss record, I think he's 3-3 on the season now. I'm not worried about that. But last night was a weird mixed bag for Yoshinobu Yamamoto. So the problem with Yamamoto to this point has been that the swing and miss hasn't been there. And last night, the swing and miss was good. The strike throwing was elite. There were, basically other than like a couple of pitches here or there, especially through 6 innings, he was in total control. His pitch count was low. For 98% of what Yamamoto did last night, to be honest with you, he was elite. And then all of a sudden, things unwind. He gives up a couple of home run balls. And the one thing that he didn't do was that he wasn't able to locate whenever he did get behind an account, which wasn't very often. And lo and behold, a really terrible offensive team, just on the couple of occasions Yamamoto got behind the count, didn't miss, right? So it was one of those like, man, the baseball gods are just against us tonight, because Yamamoto was never behind the count. His strike throwing was elite. His swing and miss stuff was there. He literally got behind the count just a couple of times and had to throw a hitter's pitch there, and they connected. And it was like, this is just bad luck. Maybe I'm feeling sorry for myself, but that's the way it felt like for me. And I felt terrible for Yoshinobu Yamamoto, because it felt like for 98% of what he did, he was really good. And then trying in whatever behind that, he was really good, but that he just kind of got unlucky that the Giants didn't miss. And then also, that's on top of the fact that only getting 2.8 runs per outing for him this year, I think that makes him feel like he has to be too perfect, and that's a really tough way to operate.
Yeah, it was rough, especially when you're going against an offense that isn't necessarily like great. At least going into this series, was one of the worst offenses in the game of baseball. Then you go ahead and go up against the 8 and 9 hitters, which is Harrison Bader, who has struggled a lot this year, and Eric Haas, who's been around the league for quite a while, was formerly part of Detroit. Yamamoto gives up 1 home run to Harrison Bader and 2 home runs to Eric Haas. The 2 home runs to Eric Haas were more center cut type of pitches. Credit to Eric Haas for hitting them out. But especially for that second one, it was an immediate bang right after the home run was given up to Harrison Bader. Then all of a sudden, it went from a 2-1 lead for the Los Angeles Dodgers to a 3-2 deficit for them, which was, I'm sure, frustrating for Yamamoto. With Yamamoto, he's somebody that I'm keeping an eye out for a little bit this year. 3.60 ERA, which is down about a run from what it has been averaging the past 2 seasons. But the expected ERA is about 4.05 on this season. I don't know what exactly is going on with that. There's some expected numbers to say he hasn't been quite as elite with Yamamoto. He has not been quite as elite as we have seen him be in the past. And I don't know what to necessarily attribute that to, because it's not just based off of what he's been given, but it's also based off of the quality of contact that is hit off of Yoshinobu Yamamoto, which has been a little bit hard, which I'm sure the home runs that were hit up for him today, the lack of swing and miss is contributing to that a little bit.
Yes.
Still something to keep an eye out for Yamamoto. I'm not worried, but you also wonder, he pitched a lot for this team last year. He made a massive impact for this organization, obviously by what he did in the World Series. Is that, or potentially could that be impacting him in this season, is something to keep an eye out for as we are in the early portion of the season.
Yeah, and so let me ask you this. I mean, we're theorizing here. We're theorizing, but kind of not. What leads to a guy like Yamamoto who usually gets good swing and miss? What leads to him not getting good swing and miss? I mean, there's only a couple things it could be. What things would those be for you?
I don't know. What are your thoughts on this, Casey?
One is you're getting behind the count, just like you did against bad hitters against the Giants. So if you're like Carson Hobbs, for instance. Carson Hobbs was totally elite last year. He went scoreless for his first 7 outings, not innings. I don't know how many innings it was this year. Then all of a sudden, he starts getting behind in the count too much. And instead of that elevated fastball in pitchers' counts, getting past the hitters because he's able to throw it 3 inches above the zone, now he's actually having to throw it for a strike because he's behind in the count. And instead of that being a swing and miss, it's a home run. Yeah. That 3 inches and the difference between being in a hitter's count and a pitcher's count is the difference between Carson Hobbs being elite and Carson Hobbs having the worst stretch professionally that he's had since he's been a professional. I love Carson. He would take that one on the chin for me to be able to give that example, because his last 2 outings have been scoreless again. He's back to controlling counts, getting ahead in the count. So number one, look at what happened to Yamamoto last night. The home runs he gave up, it's controlling counts, okay? Being able to handle hitters counts. How do you do that? It's very difficult to do because batting averages go way up in hitters counts versus pitchers counts. And then obviously so that's the part that's the easiest to fix. Let's fix our sequencing. Let's fix a grip. Let's figure out why we're not controlling counts and getting ahead in the count, whatever, okay? Yep. The hardest one to figure out would be, okay, well, where is the stuff plus at? I mean, that's why I was excited about Yamamoto last night, why I say I think he got lucky, because the stuff plus was there. It literally came down to a couple of sequences that he didn't execute, and he paid for it. And as good as Yamamoto is, the next time he does that, they're not going to hit a home run both times, right? So that's why I was excited about Yamamoto's outing last night, because I think it beats the trends that you just mentioned about all the expected ERA and stuff. I think it beat the trends of that.
Yep, no, and that's totally fair. And looking at the season, Yoshinobu Yamamoto has a 102 stuff plus. That's right along with what he's done in the past. He is still getting the necessary stuff that's in there. I think a lot of it is sequencing, as you had mentioned, and a lot of those situational type of things. Like, for example, that home run that he gave, I mentioned it, the second one to Eric Haas, just one of those first pitch where he got ambushed, try to get ahead of a hitter, trying to get ahead and put it in a place where Eric Haas could elevate it. And after he hit the first home run of the game, had a second home run on the game, and the Dodgers ended up getting behind at that point.
They absolutely did. Okay, so your thoughts on let's back up. So let's explain this again, okay? because Mookie Betts is here to stay. We
Yes.
can complain, and I'm not telling you not to complain. Complain all you want about Mookie Betts. The guy is paid to be a superstar. If he doesn't produce like a superstar, he's taking the money. What did
Loons
Nico
just won, by the way.
did
Jesus Scalise just hit a base hit, which, by the way, if you've been seeing me looking down on the screen, it's because I've been watching the Loons game as we've been going, which is more difficult than what you realize when trying to think of the Dodgers games and a game that the Loons should win, trying to think about all that stuff. So I'm a little bit more relaxed now. Go back to Mookie Betts, here to stay. Sorry.
walk off Jesus Scalise. We've interviewed him twice, by the way, and 17 people at the Loons game got to see it because it looks like it's about 10 degrees.
It was 39 degrees in the middle of May in Michigan today.
Oh, Lord. Yeah. So, okay, let's back up. Alex Freeland. Okay, you complain all you want about Mookie Betts. He's paid like a superstar. He chose to come to the Dodgers. If you take the superstar money, if you decide to put the Dodgers uniform on and you don't perform the way that you're supposed to, it's fair game. We are protective of the minor leaguers because they're not making any money yet. Unless they signed a signing bonus, they're making less money than I am. Okay, I'm just telling you they are. And so we're very protective of those guys for very good reason. To me, those guys are hands off. Plus, they're still prospects. Once you sign for all that money like Mookie Betts did, and you want to have your own podcast, and you want to be the Mr. Popular and all that, and then you don't produce, okay? Hey, gloves off, man. This is what you chose to do. If you want all the good that goes with it, then you're going to have to take the bad. So if you want to complain about Mookie Betts, go right ahead. I'll say this, though. It doesn't matter. I mean, he's going to be with the Dodgers for, 5 more years? Okay? So we can complain all we want, but he's going to be out there. So we need to figure out what in the heck is going on with Mookie Betts. And I have said this. You can go back to a lot of my podcasts 3 or 4 years ago. Matter of fact, I started this narrative on Chris Taylor in 2021. Just go back to my website. I've got an entire article on it. Go back to any of the podcasts back then. The players that built their swings on upward inclines, okay, which Mookie Betts squarely has an upward incline. Mookie Betts would tell you, don't hit ground balls. Hit the ball in the air. Now, the way he'll justify it is he'll say, well, I mean line drives. Whatever you want to say, Mookie Betts has an upward incline to his swing. Chris Taylor has an upward incline to his swing. So when you get a little bit older and your skills diminish and or your workload increases. So when your workload increases, what happens is your physical skills diminish until your body gets used to that workload and it can recover, right? That's what happened to Mookie Betts last year. So whenever you're not at full strength and you're swinging up at the ball, there is a very steep incline to that versus a guy like a Freddie Freeman or even a Will Smith where the hands come flat through the zone. Okay, those guys are going to gradually fade out. They're not just going to drop off overnight. A guy like Chris Taylor going to drop off overnight because he tries to lift everything. At the minor league level, the guy that I would give an example to would be Damon Keith. He was a very good player at the younger ages, swung straight up at the ball. Okay, and as the pitchers got better, he was either going to have to make an adjustment or the talent was going to catch up with him. So this is. I'm just telling you, I'm not wrong on this. Take that for however it's worth, okay? But unless Mookie Betts flattens his swing, okay, he is going to continue to struggle. If his mindset continues to be keep the ball off the ground and hit the ball in the air and have an upward incline to the baseball, he is not going to course correct this situation. He's got to flatten his swing out. I got long-winded there to get to that point.
Yeah, so a couple of different things right now. First off, a little bit of a fun trivia question. This is not Mookie Betts related, but related to what we talked about right here. The Southern League, which is a double-A league, you know who has, among qualified hitters, who has the best WRC plus in that league? It's Damon Keith.
Yeah.
Shout out to Damon Keith. He's having
No
a lot of
doubt.
success in the
BK.
Milwaukee system. Same thing with Eddie Slaynard, who has the best WRC plus in the International League, the AAA League.
Oh, really?
Both of them are making pushes in the Milwaukee system. Shout out to them. Both of them having a ton of success to start the season. The reason why I said that is because you mentioned Damon Keith. Just thought of that right now.
Yeah,
let's bring
cool.
it back to Mookie Betts. Mookie Betts has been more average-ish for the better part of a year now. Last year, 101 WRC plus. You can make a lot of excuses for what happened last year. Obviously, the illness probably did not help Mookie Betts in that season. But what's one of the main reasons, if you are a player that tries to elevate the baseball, that tries to hit the ball in the air, what's one of the main reasons why you're trying to do that? It's because you're trying to hit for power, because you're trying to be able to get some extra base hits, because hitting the ball on the ground, yes, especially if you don't have the exact same speed as what you've had in the past, is not going to lead to as many base hits as if you were somebody, for example, like a Kendall George, who has an insane amount of speed, or even like a Ha-Seong Kim, who has a decent amount of speed. Mookie Betts is trying to elevate the ball a little bit more, because that's where a little bit more of the power is. That's where a little bit more of the base, or a little bit more of the impact on the baseball has. Here is the thing, though, with Mookie Betts at this point of his career, and one of the biggest things to watch out for Mookie Betts, where is his power at? And will his power be sustainable? Because the only way, and I think this is where your point is absolutely valid there, Casey, the only way in which this strategy is going to be able to be sustainable and effective is if Mookie Betts is going to be able to hit for some impact in power. But we've seen a little bit of a drop-off in his power over the past couple of seasons. You go back to 2022, 2023, his isolated power, which is a good metric for power, was above 260. 2024, it was about 200. Last year, it was about 150, which means you're starting to see a little bit of a pretty gradual drop off to the point where last year he was a league average power hitter. He hit the ball in the air a ton. His fly ball percentage last year was about 46-ish%.
Oh, wow.
And your line drives were about 20%. He only hit the ball in the ground at about 33%, which means it's a lot of elevated balls. But it's also...
So what was his home run for fly ball rate?
That's actually a really good question. Yeah. It was 20 home runs. I don't know necessarily how many fly balls it was for Mookie Betts last year. Fly balls last year, there was 245 for fly balls and then 20 home runs for him on the season. I don't necessarily know the context of how good that is, so I'm not going to comment on that directly. But in essence, you started to see last year Mookie Betts a league average type of hitter because a lot of his power started to evaporate really quickly to the point where he was league average. This year, it's a real question, especially with the injury that he had, is if he's going to keep up with this swing, which it very likely is, and let's be fair, it's probably likely that he's going to keep up with the swing that's very similar to what he's had for a Hall of Fame type of career. He is going to have to be able to make some impact on the baseball in order to be a little bit more sustainably type of effective as he gets older and as that power dissipates. This is where you're going to have to see some of the adjustments that Mookie Betts is going to have to make, because with the Los Angeles Dodgers, he is under contract until following the 2023 season. So he's going to be on the Dodgers for a long time. There are going to have to be adjustments that Mookie Betts made in order to... 2032 is his last season with the Dodgers, which means he's going to be on the Dodgers for a while. There are going to have to be adjustments that Mookie makes, and it's all going to be dependent on, does he have the same power that he once had? And if he does, then this type of strategy can have some success, because it's had success for him in the past. If not, though, there's going to have to be some things that he alters. Otherwise, it's going to be a lot of fly ball outs. It's going to be a lot of pop outs for Mookie Betts and a lot of unproductive type of outs, because with fly balls, they're great for being able to hit for power. But if they're not hit for power, a lot of times they're not going to be hit for base hits.
I just hate the intentional plan of hitting the ball in the air to try to intentionally hit home runs. I can't get my brain past that finish line. I just have been trained so differently that home runs are mistakes. So, like, you put on a good swing, okay, and if you just hit the ball hard, the home runs will take care of themselves, because enough of the pitches that you actually swing at will be up in the zone. Let the location of the pitch, where you actually hit it on the ball, let all that take care of the home run aspect of things. But the first thing you need to be is a great hitter. So to me, the best way to hit home runs is to hit the ball hard, and to hit the ball hard as many times as you possibly can. And if you hit the ball as hard as many times as you possibly can, to me, a good percentage of those, majority of those, are going to be in the air enough to be home runs. And then you're also going to hit a bunch of doubles and just be a better overall hitter for your team. But let's go back to the home run for fly ball rate. That's 12%. The league average is right around 14 to 15%.
Okay.
So he's 2 to 3% below league average and I like that stat because that tells you, okay, dude, we're not hitting near as many home runs per fly balls as the average hitter in the major leagues. Do you consider yourself to be an average player? Do we pay you to be an average player? So you're below the average line, and we're paying you to be a superstar. Okay, so there is something off right here. So that tells me that if we're going to be a below average home run hitter in home runs for fly balls, and then we're also not a good overall hitter, okay, that's the adjustment to make right there. Lower your launch angle, hit lower line drives, concentrate on just hitting the ball hard, keep the ball out of the air, because Mookie Betts has been a below average home run for fly ball hitter.
Yeah, and just of note with Mookie Betts and his hard hit percentage, it was, you go back to the 2023 season, about 48.5%. That was well above league average. He's one of the best hitters in the game of baseball at hitting the ball hard. Past two seasons, though, 36%, 34%, well below league average for Mookie Betts. He's just not hitting the ball hard right now, which if you're not hitting the ball hard, you're not going to be able to hit for a ton of power, especially if that is your approach, trying to be able to elevate it a whole lot. These are going to be some of the things to keep an eye out for with Mookie. Now, with the 2026 numbers, I'm taking a little bit of a step back only because we have not seen as much Mookie Betts, just 40 plate appearances on the season yet to have a complete evaluation. But just looking at the total of what we've seen from the past two seasons, these are at least some concerning signs for you as a Dodgers fan, because with the length of tenure that Mookie Betts has on this team, you're expecting things not to fall off a cliff with 6 years to go on the contract after this season. You're looking for a little bit more of a sustained success. And if the last couple of seasons aren't that great, well, that's kind of what you were expecting, but hopefully not this early. And some of these adjustments are going to be things that he's going to have to work through as he gets older. The good thing is Mookie Betts works incredibly hard. The good thing is Mookie Betts is a Hall of Fame talent, quality type of talent, and I think he's going to be able to figure some of these things out. But he's got to be able to figure things out in order to be able to make adjustments, in order to be successful going forward as he gets older.
You know what Mookie Betts needs the most?
What's that?
He needs Shohei Ohtani, Freddie Freeman, Will Smith, Max Muncy, and Kyle Tucker all to just start raking.
Yeah.
Because if Shohei Ohtani, Freddie Freeman, Max Muncy, Will Smith, if these guys start raking and the Dodgers start scoring 8 or 9 runs a game, despite what Mookie Betts is doing, yeah, people kind of go, hey, Mookie's not hitting right now. But when the Dodgers lose 2 to the Giants and then they only have 3 guys in scoring position all night and Mookie Betts isn't hitting, that's when it sticks out, because you're like, man, Mookie's got to figure something out. So really what Mookie needs is he just needs all the other guys around him to get hot. I think that would allow him to settle back in. People would, like me, would stop focusing on it, and then he could just kind of ease his way back in. And then, like we could kind of just look up one day at the end of July and go, hey, you know what? Mookie Betts has actually turned himself into a pretty good hitter, instead of like doing what I'm doing today. I'm the one that's guilty of it, analyzing every time that he doesn't have a good game.
Yep, and that would fix a lot of the problems for the Dodgers, is if their players start hitting, that's going to fix a lot of different aspects of this team. And it would put a little bit less of the pressure on somebody like Mookie Betts, who's coming back from an injury, who's coming back from a season in which it was a disappointment for Mookie Betts based on the standard that he has set. The Dodgers need their hitters who should be hitting to start hitting. That is the overall basis of where this organization is at right now. Once they start doing that, and I think it is a once, not an if, I think it's a once they start doing that, I think things are just going to fall in place on this team, to the point where long-term wise, I'm still not overly concerned on this team. but there are still some concerning signs. They're scoring less than two runs or less, more than they have had at an increased rate than previous seasons. So that is concerning. We'll see if this is just a really tough stretch early in the season or if this becomes a little bit more of a consistent habit.
We always try to keep this very upbeat at Dodgers Dawgs as part of the Dodgers Daily Network, and we do it because that's how the organization runs. Okay, this is not an upbeat period of time, though, so it's very difficult. I can't sit here and honestly throw smoke, okay, and use smoke and mirrors and sit here and cheerlead and do this and that, and I couldn't expect anybody to have any respect for my opinion if that's all I did for this podcast. Yep. So we literally have to do it. If we're going to have a podcast and be serious about it, then in periods like this, we have to address the problems we're having. So if this seems overly negative to the way that we normally are, that's in reaction to the way the season is. That's just, there's not a whole lot of positive to talk about right now. So sorry about that, but that's just, we're trying to work through all the problems that's leading to the performances. Man, whenever you only have, we have 4 or 5 hits last night and 3 guys in scoring position. Yeah, I'm not going to sit here and just go, hey, it's great. I'm just not going to do it. It's not. I mean, it's like I would tell my kids, hey, I can sit there and tell you it's fine, but it's not. Is that what you want me to tell you? Right? I mean, you should tell my son all that. Hey, I'm not going to sit here and tell you it's fine when it's not. I'm not going to lie to you. I don't care if you end up pissed at me. I don't care if you don't like me. I'm going to tell you the truth. So that's kind of how I feel about what we're doing. I guess I'm feeling guilty because this is the second show in a row where I've been pretty negative. I don't know if I was negative yesterday, but I was pretty fired up. Not fired up today. I'm more just kind of negative, if you will. I thought the Dodgers would bounce back better last night. So I say that to say it seems like we're talking about all the negative parts of things, and we are, okay? Yep. But that's why. So I just wanted to explain that. So you got to make me feel better about Ha-Seong Kim. This guy's got major holes in his game, mainly the high velocity, up. Mainly, he's always swung and missed too much, even at AAA pitching. And the worry is that all the holes that you have, as you go on and you get a book on you and major league pitchers can consistently hit those holes, what do we do now? He's in that moment to where major league pitchers know what his holes are. They're executing to beat those holes. And he has not shown the ability to adjust back and to be able to readjust to what the pitchers are doing to him. So I'm very worried about Ha-Seong Kim. Can you give me anything under the hood that would make me feel better?
Okay, so let's take a little bit of a step back with Ha-Seong Kim, and let's talk about some of the progress and stuff that he's made on this season, because the Dodgers made a very important roster decision this week in which Ha-Seong Kim earned an opportunity to stay on the Los Angeles Dodgers. So with the return of Mookie Betts, the Dodgers optioned Alex Freeland, and that was an intentional choice to keep Ha-Seong Kim on this roster. I went through a little bit of a breakdown as to why it was Alex Freeland getting an option rather than a Santiago Esmal getting DFA'd. Ultimately, the decision that was made is we want to get Ha-Seong Kim playing time at the major league level. And the reason why the Dodgers wanted to give Ha-Seong Kim playing time in the major league level is, one, the numbers showcased at that point in the season that he had earned it. At that point, he had a 114 WRC plus. He also made really good improvements to the swing and miss. Strikeout percentage down 10%. His chase and whiff percentage were down 6 to 7 type of percent. These were dramatic improvements that Ha-Seong Kim was showing that should lead to a little bit more sustainable type of results for him going forward. And now you get to the hurdle that he went through last year that he did not have the time to be able to overcome at the major league level. Because let's take a little bit of a reflection back to the 2025 season. Ha-Seong Kim gets called up in May and goes out absolutely on fire. He was amazing for the first little bit through May, and I believe May through June, he had like a 170, 180 WRC plus during that stretch. There was some type of injury. That was through like the first 80 or so plate appearances. There is some type of injury. You can use the injury as an excuse. But after his last half of the season, it was like an 11 WRC plus with a 40% strikeout percentage. From July 1st through the end of the season, it was really rough for Ha-Seong Kim, which means that he got off to an incredible fast start, and then pitchers adjusted to Ha-Seong Kim. and it was a lot of swing and miss that he was dealing with. You go to the start of this season, Ha-Seong Kim until April 25th. Gets off on fire, 159 WRC plus, just goes out there and is hitting everything. You go look at his plate appearances since the 26th of April, his past 43 plate appearances, it's a 28 WRC plus with a 21% strikeout percentage. What we are seeing with Ha-Seong Kim is we are seeing what happened last year, which was pitchers adjusting to him and Ha-Seong Kim just not having the runway to be able to adjust for that. Now the Dodgers are giving him an opportunity for what basically is the exact same scenario of what we dealt with last year. Ha-Seong Kim gets off to a great start. Now it is all about making the adjustments back to the pitcher. There's a couple of things that is at least a little bit encouraging in this stretch. One, the WRC plus 28 is not good at all, but this paired with half the amount of strikeouts as he was dealing with during this stretch last year. So he's swinging, missing a lot less, which means he's putting the ball in play. He also, when he has been putting the ball in play, has been somebody who has been elevating the ball a little bit more, basically hitting it right over the infield, right into the outfield, which him elevating the ball has been a little bit good for him. One of the things to watch for Ha-Seong Kim as we go forward is if he's going to hit the ball on the ground a whole lot. He has been doing that more as of late, which I think has led to a little bit more of the outs that are going out there. Only a 226 batting average in balls in play over the
Gratterall on the mound. 2-0.
With Ha-Seong Kim, he's cut down on some of the swinging miss. The biggest thing that he needed to work on during the course of the offseason. That's the reason why he is still in Los Angeles today and not in Oklahoma City. Now it is all about how can I make the adjustments at the big league level, and he's going to have to be able to do that in order to be a sustainable, long-term big league type of player. We'll see how he's able to do with that. The cut down on the swing and miss is good. His ability to hit for launch angle has been good. But it's been a rough stretch now here for Ha-Seong Kim over the past little bit, and he's going to have to fight and earn in order to keep his spot on the roster because Alex Freeland is going to keep fighting, and he's going to go out there and try to perform to try to earn his way back up to Los Angeles. Ha-Seong Kim, that healthy type of competition I think should be good for him, but it's all about making the adjustments at the big league level. The thing that he didn't do last year, he's got to do this year. He swung and missed too much last year. He cut down on this year, which gives me a little bit of hope and optimism that he can make adjustments in the year 2026.
Okay, so what are the three metrics that you would use, or whatever metrics you would use as a statistician that would make you feel the most comfortable with making a statement that this is the best offense in baseball? What statistical measures would you use the most?
Yeah, so the statistical metrics that I would use the most, first off, would be WRC plus. I use that all the time. Weighted runs created plus. That is an environment adjusting statistic to be able to account for different parks. It's to be able to account for a lot of different factors and ultimately tell you how good of an offense that you are in the game of baseball and put it on a scale of 100. That's the first one. That's going to tell you how you have been in the past. One of the other aspects that I would do, and I use this a lot, is expected weighted on base average. Weighted on base average is one of the metrics used in WRC plus. However, the expected just takes into account the quality of batted balls. So the expected weighted on base average looks at quality of contact. And so with that metric, I'm looking at where you're going to be going forward. Those are kind of the two primary ones that I used. Very easy to be able to find on Fangraphs. Expected weighted on base average is easy to find on Baseball Savant as well. Those are the two things. What have you done in the past? And based on what you have done in the past, what does the quality of contact look like for that? Those are the two things that I'm going to look at.
Where do the Dodgers stack up in the National League and the Major Leagues in those two?
Okay, so if you're looking at right now, looking at the Los Angeles Dodgers team stats, and this is what's fascinating, by WRC plus, the Dodgers have as a team a 119 WRC plus on the season. We can go through different stretches where it's not as good, but they've been 19% better than league average offense over the course of the season. That is second in the game of baseball, only behind the Atlanta Braves with a 121 WRC plus. You go to expected weighted on base average, which again looks at the quality of contact. It doesn't take into account necessarily the overall results. It means, hey, if you're hitting a lot of gap to gap type of power, if you're hitting a decent amount of home runs, that's going to tell you, hey, that's a good thing to be able to do. Long run, that's going to have a lot of success. The Dodgers have a 350 expected weighted on base average. That is first in all of baseball, meaning they have, to this point of the season, the second most productive offense by WRC plus in the game of baseball, with the best quality of contact in the game of baseball, meaning that this can be, or the level of production that they have, which again, 120 WRC plus as a team is a really good spot to be. It is seemingly sustainable as well, even though the Dodgers have been struggling a little bit on offense. We can go into the numbers about different stretches, but that's what the overall outlook looks like on the season.
So how many runs have the Dodgers scored? Do you have that?
Runs by the Dodgers this year, they are sixth in baseball with 208 runs.
208 runs. So the Dodgers are, by every stretch that you could possibly imagine, you said sixth in runs scored?
Yes.
Okay, and we don't know exactly how those are distributed, like maybe 15 of them are in a win and 0 in a loss or whatever.
Yep.
So we don't know how efficient those runs are. That's why overall runs scored, I know advanced analytics folks love runs scored because advanced analytics will score you the most amount of runs. That doesn't always, this is going to sound really weird. Scoring the most amount of runs doesn't always mean you're going to have the best record, because you might score 15 in one game and 0 in the other, and you're 500. Okay. Yep. Whereas another team might score, so that's 15 runs in 2 games. Another team might score 7 in one game and 7 in the next and be 2-0, and you're 1-1. So it makes sense. They've scored one less run than you, but they've won one more game because they've created more consistency and efficiency. So overall runs scored, I think advanced analytics are perfect for that. I think you have to have context behind that. So the overall runs scored, number 6, I think you can throw that into the equation. Don't use it as a sole statistic to use. But when you look at the underlying metrics, the WRC plus, the weighted on base average, and all of that, the Dodgers probably are the second best offense right now as we speak, in all of baseball. And I think it's not even arguable that they're a top 5 offense in the entire major leagues. And that's without Mookie Betts hitting. That's with Kyle Tucker not getting going right. That's with Shohei Ohtani being absolutely ridiculously bad, period. And then especially compared to what he's supposed to be, that's with Freddie Freeman and Will Smith not hitting a whole lot of home runs. That's with Teo Hernandez being a little bit less than what he normally is. That's without Tommy Edman. That's without Kike Hernandez. That's without all of that. And the Dodgers are easily and unquestionably at least the top 5 offense in Major League Baseball, and more likely one of the top 2 best offenses. Think about that for a second.
Yeah, it's fascinating to think about. And this is coming since the stretch. If you go back to the 20th of April, the Dodgers have been league averages as an offensive team. 17th in WRC plus, 96 WRC plus for them. That's 17th in baseball, and 12th in expected weighted on base average, 327. You can take that and say, hey, look at this offense. For close to a month stretch, they have been about league averages. How could they still be the top offense in the game of baseball? But the games early in the season still count. And I think those games early in the season showcased what the potential of this offense is able to be. Because for a good stretch of the season, early part of the season before that, and that was a good month stretch, the Dodgers were a 140, 145 WRC plus type of team, type of talent. And even if they just balance and mesh all those teams off, as you had mentioned, that is a top offense in the game of baseball. And I think that's something that we have to recognize. And we have to take a little bit of a step back and say, hey, is it more likely that the players that are struggling are likely to adjust and make adjustments and start to hit again? Is that what their track record says? And I think with their track record and with the quality of contact that they have, that all those signs go to indicate that the Dodgers are closer to a top 2 or 3 offense in the game of baseball than they are middle of the pack. I refuse to believe that the Dodgers are a middle of the pack offense unless this becomes a additional month or 2 type of stretch. And then we start to have real conversations about some of the real concerns on this team. We're not there yet. The Dodgers are still in a good place offensively. And I think especially the quality of contact is something that should be really really encouraging for Dodgers fans, because they are the best in the game of baseball at that overall on the season, which that should lead to some good success going forward.
Move Shohei to the 3-hole. Move Mookie to the leadoff. If Mookie's going to be somewhat of a light hitter, okay, then what you need out of that guy to make him more effective is just getting on base is a big value to the team. Does that make sense? So the further down in the middle, closer to the middle of the lineup you have, the less effective just getting on base becomes, because those are supposed to be your run producers. So like Kyle Tucker and Freddie Freeman, they're getting on base at a pretty good clip, and that's wonderful, but that's not what the Dodgers need in terms of how this offense is built. They need those guys to do more than just get on base. They need those guys to drive in runs, especially, we've told you Andy Pages is going to go hot and cold. When Andy Pages is in a cold stretch and he's not saving your ass in the 7-hole, cleaning up what the middle of the lineup didn't get done, then you're going to see the effects of that, which we're seeing right now, okay? That's why it feels like when Max Muncy and Andy Pages don't hit, the Dodgers don't score, because what's happening with Freddie Freeman and Kyle Tucker, they've actually been good offensive players, but they've been good players in metrics that they're not paid for, if that makes sense. Freddie Freeman and Kyle Tucker are paid to drive in runs, and when they're not, they're passing it down to the bottom of the lineup who's paid to get on base or do whatever role they're supposed to do. And so my point to that is, if Mookie Betts isn't going to be a great hitter, put him in the spot of the lineup to where just getting on base gives the biggest benefit to the offense. Move Shohei Ohtani down to 3-hole. If you actually look at his statistics, he's batting the best of any position, batting third in an inning all year long. So move him down to where he does, when he does do damage, then it's not a solo, it's not this, it's not that. Mookie Betts is on base, or whoever is on base, and it actually turns into a crooked number from there. So I would be just look at that. Hey, let's put Mookie to where I'll just get on base, right? And then let's move Shohei Ohtani down and say, hey, let's hit that ball to left center and let's see if we can drive some runs in.
All right, so here would be the counter argument to that.
Yes.
Because obviously you want to give counter arguments to that. Mookie Betts, right now, would you say that he is a good on-base type of machine? Because I'm assuming the argument for this would be you want runners on base for Shohei Ohtani when he's able to do damage. When Shohei Ohtani's in the leadoff spot, there typically isn't as much damage for him at the plate to be able to do so. Is Mookie Betts in that type of place right now, or does he need to get to that type of place prior to putting him in that type of position, prior to putting Shohei Ohtani further down in the lineup? That would be the question, because one of the things that I would point to with this, last year in the 2025 season, Mookie Betts had a 326 on base percentage. Yeah. That's very league average-ish as an on base percentage for him. Do you want a league average on base percentage if the goal is to go ahead and provide more runners on base potentially for Shohei Ohtani, or is that just getting a little bit more of an out for Shohei Ohtani a little bit sooner, while also sacrificing plate appearances? Because this is the other side of it, and this is why I wouldn't move Shohei down to the 3-hole. At most, I would move him down to the 2-hole, and the reason why is in the game of baseball, and you're looking at the full season side of sample size of plate appearances. There is a vast difference number of plate appearances that you get by spot in the order. This is the reason why a lot of the best hitters in the game of baseball are either hitting 1 or 2 now, as opposed to 3 or 4 or 5 like they've done in the past. Just going on average, and this is what you can go ahead and look up, on average, the lower that you are in the order, each spot that you drop, you lose anywhere between 15 and 20 plate appearances on the season. Which means with Shohei Ohtani, with as good as he is and as good as you want him to be, again, past couple of seasons has been close to a 180 WRC plus type of hitter. You're taking that hitter, and if you drop him down to the 2 spot, he's getting about 15 to 20 less plate appearances. Let's call it 15 because we're already a portion of the way in the season. 15 less plate appearances on the season. Then you drop him down 1 more. That's 30 less plate appearances on the season. Is that something that you're willing to sacrifice as a team if you don't have any knowledge or confidence right now in Mookie Betts in his on-base type of skill? Or would you rather Mookie Betts prove that he can be a player that can get on base quite a bit, find somebody that can be a good on-base type of player that can go ahead and lead off, potentially for Shohei Ohtani, put him in that 2-hole to try to maximize some of the damage that he has? Those would be some of my concerns. One is Mookie Betts an on-base type of machine? And number two, are you willing to sacrifice potentially 30 plate appearances for the rest of the season with Shohei Ohtani just by moving him down in the lineup? I'm not willing to make that sacrifice. I think the Dodgers probably aren't willing to make that sacrifice. If they find somebody, especially a right-handed bat, who can be one of those guys that can get on base a whole lot, perhaps that would be a really good thing at the top of the lineup. I just don't know if Mookie Betts is that type of hitter right now, would be the argument against that.
So my pushback to that, okay?
Yep, go ahead.
This will be a fascinating back and forth, okay? Is that I think that's just about the only thing Mookie Betts could do really good right now is if you just literally said, Mookie, our approach is I don't give a rat's ass what your batting average is. Get your ass on base. I actually think that is a function offensively that he can perform at a high level right now. I don't think it's fair to go out and say, hey, Mookie, you need to go out and gather hits and be a 320 hitter and you have a 120 WRC plus. I don't think he's capable of that right now. I really don't. I think he swings up at it too much. I think he's getting older. I think he's had injuries. I think has an extended workload at shortstop. I've been saying this for over a year now. So I don't think if you go out and say, hey, we need you to be Mookie Betts, I don't think he's capable of it. I think what Mookie Betts is capable of is to give him an attainable goal that doesn't have to do with actually gathering hits or hitting for power. An attainable goal is get on base. So how do you get on base? You can sprinkle hits in there. You can walk. You can hit behind runner. You can do all sorts of things that will get you on base. And I think Mookie Betts, if you gave him that goal, let's just make you a high on base percentage guy. To hell with the power. Let's flatten your swing. To hell with the power. Don't quit hitting so many freaking fly balls because you're 2% below league average on fly balls for home runs. Just figure out how to get on base. I think that's really the only thing he could probably do at an elite level right now, if that's all his focus was. And then my counterpoint to losing at bats, I think you're looking at that wrong. I think if you looked at the Dodgers' number 2 hole over the last 5 years versus any average team's 2 hole over the last 5 years, that's where you make up the extra at bats that you're losing there. So I would say, you say you're losing 15 at bats from the 1 hole to the 2 hole. I would say where you make those at bats up is have a really good offense. Because if you have a really good offense that continues, let's say that every hitter in your lineup gets 5 at bats instead of 3, okay, then you're getting a hell of a lot more of at bats from the other team. So the worst thing that you can do, no matter where you're at in a lineup, what spot in the order you're in a lineup, is to have a bad offense to where, the other team's pitchers are only facing 6 hitters above the minimum. So whatever structure you can create for your offense that turns your lineup over and gives everybody the most at bats because you're playing good offense is going to get everybody more at bats. So Shohei Ohtani would get more at bats at a 3 hole in a really good offense than he will leading off for the offense that we've seen for the Dodgers in the last week.
Okay, so that's an argument that this would make the offense better. You're going to see, because the Dodgers are going to hit around a lot more, they're going to see more type of plate appearances. I just refuse to believe that this offense is going to be this consistent this long while. And there's a couple of different arguments that you made with that. I'll push back a little bit on a couple of those. I think it's totally fair to say to Mookie Betts that, hey, we want you to be a guy that can get on base quite a bit for this team. We want you to be the guy that can work on doing a lot of those type of skill sets rather than trying to lean into some of your power at this point, because the point of this offense, or the thing that this offense needs, is just runners on base a whole lot. And with Mookie Betts, I think that can be a challenge that he can take, and I think that can be a challenge that he can run with. I just don't think it needs to be immediately in the 1 hole. Go ahead and do that, because I think this is going to be one of those things, especially because of some of the mechanics type of his swing, because of the way the batted ball profile that he has. It might take a little bit of time for him to be able to make some of these adjustments. And I don't think you want to be able to add on some of those additional plate appearances at the top of the lineup, give him some of that extra long run when he's still trying to figure some of that things out. I think he can still be in a position where, whether it's a 2-hole, whether he needs to be moved down a little bit in the lineup, I think it is one of those things where you can figure this out before putting him in that position, because then it's well, you got to figure things out. And you also have to make sure that you get on base for Shohei Ohtani and those different type of things. I think they want him to be able to figure those things out before putting him in that position. And then number 2, I'd actually be curious. I was trying to figure it out as we go through. Might be able to figure it out as we go along. I think it's totally fair to say that overall, if this Dodgers offense is performing, the number 3-hole hitter is going to get more plate appearances than the league average 3-hole hitter is going to be.
Yes.
But that does not change the fact that even if the 3-hole hitter is hitting more than a league average 3-hole hitter, the number 1 hole in the Dodgers is still going to get more plate appearances than the 3-hole hitter on the Dodgers would, because you don't know where it's going to end. The lineup is going to end the game on in this exact lineup, to the point where I still think you are going to be sacrificing plate appearances for Shohei Ohtani. Even if you want to make the argument, maybe it's not 30 plate appearances that you're sacrificing, I still think you would sacrifice close to at least 20 plate appearances for Shohei Ohtani on the rest of the season, just by moving him down to the 1 to the 3-hole on the season. That would at least be my best guesses as to what would happen with that. And there's not really a person that you could put above him that would instantly make this lineup instantly better, especially with Mookie Betts being a little bit more of a question mark on base type of skill. There's no guarantee that the offense is going to be better at that point, in which case you might be sacrificing Shohei Ohtani plate appearances for maybe exactly the same offense. Sure. Maybe this offense just needs to figure things out, and once it figures things out, it'll be fine.
Sure. So it's not about who you put in front of Shohei Ohtani. It's about who you're putting behind Shohei Ohtani. So where is Mookie Betts hitting?
Mookie Betts has been hitting on 2-hole. He's been hitting right behind Shohei.
Who's hitting 1-hole?
Shohei Ohtani.
So the 30 at-bats are good, but I'm telling you, if you create a better offense, that's on base more. So if you're creating an offense, if Mookie Betts gets on base 30 more times in a season, because that's the approach that he has that's going to even those at-bats that you're talking out at least a little bit. So let's say it breaks it in half, and so you're taking away 15 at-bats, right? Okay, instead of 30, which I think is definitely possible if you create a more efficient offense. Okay, then I'm going to throw this one at you too, and this is the coach versus stats, and it's a fascinating argument. Of course, it's all theoretical, but then also if you have Mookie Betts behind Shohei Ohtani, who's not a good hitter, who hasn't been a good hitter for a long time, even though Shohei Ohtani's getting, even if it's the full 30 at-bats, okay, what kind of at-bats are they? You're not getting the full quality of at-bat because of who's hitting behind him, because pitchers are going to pitch Shohei Ohtani way different if he has Mookie Betts behind him than if he had Freddie Freeman or even a Kyle Tucker or a Max Muncy or a Will Smith behind him. So even if he only gets, say, 20 at-bats fewer, he's going to get, even in 20 at-bats fewer, he's probably going to get 50 to 60 better pitches throughout the season to hit, even with the reduced amount of at-bats, just because of who's hitting behind him. And you can't just do we'll see if Shohei Ohtani gets himself out. We're going to throw him a strike to ball. We'll see if he chases. And when he does, and he's going to chase because Mookie's not hitting behind him, you can't do that to Shohei, because then Shohei can take his walks, because then he has Freddie and Will and Kyle behind that. So I think having Mookie Betts behind Shohei Ohtani, actually, while you're continuing to have the same amount of quantity, it's massively reducing the quality, which is cutting your nose off to spite your face. Because who would you rather face right now, Shohei Ohtani or Mookie Betts?
Oh, you'd rather face Mookie Betts than Shohei Ohtani.
So what kind of pitches are Shohei Ohtani's? What type of pitches is he going to get with Mookie Betts behind him or whoever it is? And we've seen that. He's getting those pitches, and because he doesn't trust the person behind him, he's swinging at them and striking out. That's how that rhythm goes as far as a team lineup. Does that make sense?
Yep, and that's totally fair. The counter could also work too, because you could also make the counter argument where you want Mookie Betts to be able to get on base 30 additional times. That doesn't just help the scenario where Mookie Betts is hitting in front of Shohei Ohtani. You know what? That also helps with the number of plate appearances. That also helps the lineup as currently constructed. So a lot of this is just dependent on Mookie Betts getting on base to his actual capabilities and going ahead and do that. And this would be the other thing that could potentially be a little bit of a question mark, especially with some of the struggles that we've seen with Will Smith being very league average-ish as a hitter, with Teoscar Hernandez and his struggles that he's had this year, with some of the inconsistencies that Andy Pages has had. With the top of the lineup, you have in the top 4, you have 3 left-handed hitters. You got Shohei Ohtani, you got Freddie Freeman, and you've got Kyle Tucker, especially against right-handed pitchers.
Good point.
As soon as you move Mookie Betts up, what you are creating is likely a run of 3 straight left-handed hitters that you're not going to pinch hit. And what that is an invitation every single game for opposing pitchers to go ahead and spam lefty relievers during that particular run of the lineup. There has to be some sort of breakup within this lineup to keep some of the pitchers honest in the game of baseball. As
Will Smith.
Will Smith could be that guy. However, he has not been hitting like he could be at this point. And it could be get to a point where if Mookie Betts struggles a lot, you have to put Will Smith in that number 2 position because he's going to be a better hitter than what Mookie Betts is. And perhaps that is where we get to a point of at some point throughout the season. I think it's still too early in the evaluation process of Mookie Betts. He is still a Hall of Fame level type of hitter, but I think he's got to be able to prove it to earn his way up in this lineup. And I think with the offense as it is, look, it's Shohei Ohtani with the number of plate appearances that he is going to get. He's going to get more plate appearances if this offense does better. That's simply straight put. If the offense does better, he's going to get more plate appearances because it's going to go around the lineup. It doesn't matter exactly how you position it. It's going to ultimately matter how this offense actually performs over the course of the season to where he's going to get more plate appearances. And that's ultimately what needs to happen is Mookie Betts just needs to start hitting. He needs to start getting on base. If he does that, and if some of the other players live up to what they should be doing, that fixes a whole lot of these different problems that we're dealing with.
So all I'm trying to say is it's important who hits behind. It's more important who hits behind Shohei Ohtani than Shohei Ohtani getting the 30 extra at-bats, 15 extra at-bats at least. It's 15, he said, per spot, right?
It is anywhere between 15 to 20 plate appearances. Looking at last year, it was about a 20 plate appearance decrease in plate appearances from the 1 spot to the 2 spot for the Dodgers.
So to me, he's going to have more quality chances to hit with protection behind him than he is with somebody behind him that can't hit. So to me, that quality trumps the quantity that you're talking about. So I'm going to give you the perfect case scenario, and if you choose, or you can just believe me, Colin Ritchie at Oklahoma State, who has 28 home runs. He's hit the second most home runs. The young man from Louisville has the most. He has the second most home runs in all of college baseball, okay? And last year he struck out. So what's happened to Colin Ritchie this year is that Oklahoma State has gotten Aiden Miola back, and Aiden Miola now has 20 home runs, okay? So Aiden Miola is hitting behind Colin Ritchie. And last weekend, literally at Arizona State, Colin Ritchie, I think, walked 8 times, okay? And Oklahoma State scored – we scored 6 runs in the 9th inning at Arizona State against their closer that was throwing at 95. So my point to that is Colin Ritchie, while he's getting fewer at-bats where he's taking swings, right, he's actually hitting more home runs because the quality of it – Aiden Miola has allowed him to have a higher quality of at bat, which means he's only having to swing at pitches that he can actually hit. And because of that, he's not striking out. And because he's only swinging at pitches that he can hit, he's hitting a ton of home runs. And if you put Kyle Tucker, Freddie Freeman, or even Andy Pages, or whoever it is that is your second best hitter in the lineup behind Shohei Ohtani, the quality of his at-bat's going to go way up because then you can literally go to Shohei like Josh did to Colin and go, Colin, take your walks. Quit swinging at that crap in the dirt. We've got Aiden Miola behind you. Pass it down. By the way, you're not going to hit that pitch anyways. So lay off that pitch. Take your walks. The rest of the lineup will take care of it. We got you, bro. That's what happened to Colin Ritchie. That's what would happen to Shohei Ohtani if he had a hitter behind him that he trusted to clean things up if he wasn't able to do it. Then Shohei Ohtani starts only swinging at strikes, and then his quality of at bat goes through the roof, and that trumps anything that has to do with quantity. That's where I'm coming at that as a coach. Maybe that's too pie in the sky.
Do you remember at the beginning of the season, who was the 2-hole hitter for the Dodgers? The 2-hole hitter was not Mookie Betts. It was Kyle Tucker.
Yeah,
Kyle Tucker
yes.
was gifted the number 2 hole at the beginning of the season, and he struggled.
Yes.
You know who over the past couple of weeks has been hitting really well? Kyle Tucker over the past 2 weeks has been like a 155 WRC plus type
Move
of player.
to the 2-hole then. There you go. Yes.
And if you're talking about a little bit of middle ground between each of these positions without sacrificing the long-term quantity of plate appearances for Shohei Ohtani while keeping him in the 1 hole, with a Kyle Tucker, if he starts hitting a lot better than Mookie Betts, move Kyle Tucker up to the 2 hole. Move Mookie Betts down to the 3 hole. Mookie Betts continues to struggle. Go ahead and put Will Smith in the 3 hole to break up the Freddie Freeman type of run in this lineup. I think as Mookie Betts or Kyle Tucker start to hit, and we're starting to see some hitting with Kyle Tucker, that creates a lot more different options. And I think there's some of the things that the organization had thought about. We need somebody that is reliable, that's consistent behind Shohei Ohtani. Now, we should think of that with Mookie Betts because of what he's done in the past. He just hasn't shown that to this point, which means that if he hasn't shown that, if he continues to struggle, there's going to have to be some reshuffling, but I don't think it's taking Shohei down and limiting his plate appearances and putting a run of lefties. I think it's rather moving somebody who's earned that spot, like a Kyle Tucker, up in the lineup, perhaps moving Mookie Betts to the 3 or 5 hole and allowing that to shape where things are at. And I think until Mookie Betts proves that he can be a little bit more of an on-base type of player, unlike what we've seen over the past season and this season as well, once we start seeing that, then that opens up this offense a lot in what they are going to be capable of.
Here's another thing, and I can tell you this story. Of course, keep in mind, I'm at a pissant level, so I get that. But I still think even at that, I think baseball in a lot of ways is just baseball. People are just people, even if it's just a bigger level, okay? So we took a home run. We took our leadoff hitter, kind of a high schoolish version, had a Mookie Betts style to him. Obviously not. Again, I'm at a pissant level. I'm just giving kind of, had that style, that kind of deal, right? And he got into the same deal with Mookie. He was swinging up at balls. He hit a home run in a scrimmage early in the season. And next thing we know, he was striking out 2 or 3 times a game, okay? And one of the player that hit in front of him came in the office and goes, Coach, what are we going to do about this, man? I mean, he's our best player. We can't have this kid striking out. I don't mean to be throwing him under the bus, but I'm trying to be a leader here, and we need to come up with a plan to figure this out. And I got it. Don't worry, bro. I got it. Don't worry. So that next game, that young man, who, by his way, his name is Jeffrey Chappell. He was the nephew of our head coach, John Chappell, who I was the assistant of for 18 years, who's in the Hall of Fame now. We built a Hall of Fame career for Coach Chappell there, and we're very proud of it. So I hope it doesn't sound douchey for me to say that. I'm very proud of that. That's the only reason I say that. So we put him in the 9 hole. Okay, this is a macho dude, okay? And Jeffrey comes around, and we post the lineup like at 3 o'clock for a 6 o'clock game. And he comes around that corner, and he goes, what in the blah, 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 blah. It was 3 o'clock, nobody's there. So, I mean, he's just let it loose. And Haji, the one who came into the office, is just smiling. He's like, oh, snap. So Haji comes around the corner, he goes, guys, I didn't mean send him to the 9 hole. I said, we got it, bro. We got it. And so Jeffrey comes into the office like a grown man, much respect, and he goes, what in the heck is it? Blah, blah, I'm not the 9th best hitter. We said, yeah, you are. Right now you are. We said, hey, trust me, Jeffrey. Last thing we want is you to be the 9 hole on this team, okay? Prove it. Prove us wrong. Go out and prove it. You want to be all pissed and all this and that. You want to talk all macho like you're doing right now. Then walk your ass out there at 6 o'clock and prove it. Okay? Either that or make yourself look like a dumbass by reacting like this and continuing to be a crappy-ass offensive player. Those are the two choices you have. So I give that story as context to say another option you have is, Mookie, there's the 9-hole. Get you some, bro. Okay? And if it hurts your feelings, too bad. Oh, actually not too bad. Do something about it, right? That's another option.
Yep.
Because I say that to say, this isn't like okay, well, it's 2 weeks. This has been Mookie Betts for a long time, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep, this has been.
It's a long enough sample to make that statement too.
He has been a league average offensive hitter since the beginning of the 2025 season.
Yeah. So that's another option there too. So it's an interesting conversation, but we're overreacting, obviously, because the Dodgers, again, I'm going to say it again, for anybody that's like saying, well, okay, like when I say we need organizational adjustments, what I mean is I think Mookie needs to, what I mean is I don't think people are doing a bad job. What I mean is I think there needs to be slight adjustments, like, hey, Mookie needs to concentrate on getting more on base. You know, hey, I think we need a little more slug out of Will Smith. Yeah, it's great that Freddie and Kyle are getting on base, but we need them to drive in runs. That's kind of what I'm talking. I'm not talking about like we need to completely change everything that we're doing. Does that make sense?
Yep, no, and that's totally fair. And I think I would be much more on board with moving Mookie Betts down in the lineup than I am moving him up in the lineup, just with the quantity of plate appearances and also the chip on the shoulder that they would bring with Mookie Betts. I'm not there quite of yet. I know it's been a long sample size. I want to see some of the adjustments that he makes in the 2026 season first before making especially that dramatic of a drop-off. But if Mookie Betts does not produce, you're going to see shuffling of this lineup. He will not continually be given the number 2 hole, and especially if Will Smith starts to hit, that is a very easy switch for this organization to make, to say, Will Smith, you're the number 2 hole, you're going to break, or you're the number 3 hole, Kyle Tucker's number 2, Will Smith number 3, Freddie Freeman, and then maybe a Mookie Betts to kind of break up the righties, although you could drop him down maybe even to where a Teoscar or an Andy Pages is. If he continues to struggle, he'll work his way down in the lineup. I don't see that as being something that the organization is against. I just don't think they want to move him up in the lineup at this point until they start seeing some of these signs, because it's totally fair. He has been struggling for a long time, and we want to see better in Mookie Betts because he is capable of being better.
Okay, we've gone on long enough. My wife just actually took the babies for a walk. I gotta get out of here because I don't miss my walks with my 2 Dodgers dogs. I can't wait to go on that with them. We've been a little bit more negative the last 2 days. I will redirect that. I can't handle a whole lot of negativity. I've let it rip the last couple of days. We've gotten our asses beat by the Giants, by Tony Vitello. I've let the negativity kind of expand, and that's good. Sometimes you need to have that. You got to vent. You can't just, sometimes, at least I do, got to get it out. That's what we've done the last couple of days. I will redirect this back into the typical pattern we have of seeing the positives of that. I promise you we will. The last 2 days haven't been that. So I hope you've hung with us there. I know a lot of you positive, wonderful Dodgers dogs are probably like, what the hell is this? They're just ripping this. I get it. We are. But that's just kind of what we needed the last couple of days, in my opinion. But we'll of course correct. Hey, I got to get out of here because we actually had a home run by my boy Zach Earhart for the Oklahoma City Comets. Yeah, he's actually been struggling lately. He needs to get it going. Final thoughts here. I got to get out to my beautiful bride of 26 years and my 2 wonderful Dodgers dogs, and we got to get our walk in, and then we got to get back and watch the Dodgers figure this thing out and beat the Giants' ass tonight.
Yep, that's the thing. Things can change in the game of baseball really quick. Hopefully things can change for the Los Angeles Dodgers tonight, going back up against the San Francisco Giants. They need to win tonight. Shohei Ohtani's on the mound. He's been one of the best pitchers in the game of baseball. That certainly should help. A lot of right-handed hitters in the Dodgers lineup tonight. They have the Miguel Rojas. They have the Alex Call. They're going out there with the Santiago Espinal. A lot of righties in this lineup to go up against Robbie Ray. Hopefully the Dodgers can go ahead and take advantage and get their first victory of the series against the San Francisco Giants. Dodgers game starting up in about 30 minutes.
Yeah. So we have a question here. Who's your pick to click? I'm going with Mookie Betts because I've been talking shit on him all night long. That's exactly how I'm doing. But hey, I don't take anything back. You don't like it, man? Prove me wrong. That's literally how I live my life. You don't like what I got to say? Prove my ass wrong. I've been proved wrong, and I don't have to. If you prove my ass wrong, I will say, attaboy, bro. That's exactly how that will work. So, Austin, thanks, man. Great to see your face again. To all you wonderful Dodgers dogs, thank you so much for tuning in. Been an absolutely awesome show. We'll have a show tomorrow with Coach Holt. We'll talk all about the Dodgers beating the ass of the Giants tonight, no doubt about that. So that'll be super fun. So for one final time, I want to give you a big thank you, and as always, remind you, it's a great day to be a Dodger.